Hi there, and what we're talking about today is the sales process. The sales process is the process where we're going to start prospecting, qualifying customers all the way through to delivering the product or service. So what's important is in your business plan you understand the process of selling and delivering and maintaining those customers. And this process has to be articulated in the business plan, but also in the operations of the business. We also talk about the business flow charts, and the sales process also has to be articulated in that. So this slide is bringing together the typical sales process that you could have in your business. Okay? Of course, every business is going to be slightly different. So the first step is prospecting and qualifying. So if I use an example, so let's go for an example of a television. Most people actually buy televisions. Most people have a television in their house. But at certain times of the year, we can actually expect them to buy a new TV. So for instance, around the Olympics, around the World Cup, most men or people who like football will go out and buy a brand new television to watch the World Cup on. So at certain parts of the year we can qualify different people. Of course, if they go into get a new Sky subscription, then we probably could sell them another TV as well. So at different times we can see that certain people will buy your product. So we can prospect because we know that most people have TVs, and we can qualify them. So if I twist that on its head and we look at, say, a student who is getting a job, then most people will look at the degree they have, and they will prospect the types of jobs that want that degree, and then they'll qualify the types of businesses that are looking for those types of jobs. And so therefore we are still prospecting, qualifying with lots of different processes. So once we understand that, we get a market size of potential customers. Then we need to look and approach them. Now, approaching a customer may be one of different ways. So we could telephone them up, we could email them, we could mail shot them, we could go and knock on their front door. So, but there's always going to be an approach, and the approach needs to be in a lot of ways standardized, and that process needs to be understood. And at some point, we're going to move from approaching them, and of course, that approach, we may need to approach them several times. So for instance, if I go back to the TV, people don't buy a TV every year. They probably don't even buy a TV every 2 years. They probably buy a TV every 7 or 8 years. So we might have to approach them many, many times before eventually they want to buy from us, or they're interested in buying from us. And then we present what we have. So that presentation may be some standing in front of people presenting what you're doing. So as in a job interview, you might present, or it may be a video, or it may be some form of marketing material that presents the benefits and the features of that service or product. And then, so for instance, if we go onto the TV, we need to demonstrate. So you might go into the TV shop and look at the product and get a demonstration of what it's like to watch that TV. And those demonstrations then allow the customer to see it firsthand. And so if I was presenting to a product to a company, then I would stand there and demonstrate the product and service right in front of the board or the directors of the business, and they would have a chance to ask me some questions. And those questions would lead me some objections. Now, the one thing that's important with objections is you should not get high-rated about them. They're part of the process. And as part of the process, they're important. If people aren't asking you questions, then we know they're not really interested. So the objections are really important. And it's a way of actually getting the customer to focus on the product and focus on the service, and to actually start to understand it in greater depth. So once we have the objections, then we move on to closing. Now, there's many, many techniques for closing, and I've got some other videos which I've shared with you on closing. But closing then starts to get the customer to buy in and commit. And once they've committed, then we've actually sold the product. So when we sell the product, we then move on to 3 other elements here. okay? And those are all part of the delivery of the service or product. So we need to implement it. So if, for instance, if we're selling a bespoke item, we need to get it manufactured or made in a particular way. Or if it's just, let's say, an Amazon purchase, it needs to be downloaded and we need to make sure they install it. And we need to hopefully get them to use it. And then there's hopefully some follow-on, which then gives them some form of evaluation. And that evaluation could be a like or a rating, or it could be us sending a survey out via email to our customers and finding out whether they liked it or used it. And we also need to evaluate internally. Did we create the product? Did we make money on it? And evaluate all the products and services and the processes internally. So to put the whole thing in together, as we move along here, and the reason why this steps in is each stage we get less and less people. We get less and less number of clients to evaluate. So we start off with a whole market, and only a certain amount of those we'd approach, and only a certain amount of those we actually provide a presentation, and only a certain amount of those we provide a demonstration. And this is basically the funnel that we have, a sales funnel that we have in our process. So when we look at the numbers around the business on the sales forecast, we will see a sales funnel in numbers. So we might approach 100 people, of which we then give a presentation to 70, which we then give a demonstration to 50, which we then handle objections and discussions with 40, and then we actually close only with 10, where we follow up probably with, let's say 8, and then we actually try and implement. So these are all the things that happen in a sales funnel, and we need to then start to look at and quantify the numbers around this. Okay? So in the lesson we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but we're going to actually develop your own sales process and your own sales funnel in the lesson, and hopefully we can get this nailed down on Wednesday. Cheers, look forward to seeing you again. Bye.